Hi, everyone. This is going to be the introduction to your Venn diagrams assignment. So at this point, you have already watched the videos on how the United States government's, the three branches specifically of the U.S. federal government, deals with laws, how making laws, those kinds of things. And at this point, you've also gone through the lecture on similarities and differences between the Roman Republic and the United States government of today. And so what I'd like us to do is now kind of synthesize this information via something that I like to call a Slimm diagram. So this is a creation of my own. I invented this way to compare and contrast, and I think it does a pretty decent job of showing the similarities and differences between two or more items. So this is what the Slimm diagram looks like, and basically you're going to have differences in the outer circles on each side, and then similarities where the two circles meet. So again, I think my creation of the Slimm diagram here is something that's really going to help you out. So what should this look like? So for your Venn diagrams, you're going to have the United States on one side and Rome on the other. I don't care which way you do it. It does not matter to me. For contrasting points, you're going to have items along the side here for each one, and then as I mentioned, comparisons, things that are in common in the middle. You must have 4 details total for each. So that could be 3 points of difference on each side, and then 1 point of comparison in the middle. It could be 2 and 2. It could be 1 difference and 3 things in common, whatever it may be. That's what we're looking to do, a combination, some combination of 4 total. A couple of points to keep in mind as you're doing these Venn diagrams. The differences, they should be what we call parallel differences. So for example, if you are talking about the heads of state for the United States and the Roman Republic, you might put 1 president over here and then 2 consuls over here. And that's a really simplistic example, but you should be able to match up the differences on both sides. The second thing to keep in mind is that they don't have to be straight facts. These can be inferences that you're making. These can be interpretations of how these governments work. So for example, if you are going to say that a difference is the position of the head of state for the United States is weak because its power is checked by the legislative body, you could write that as an interpretation over here on the left-hand side. Just make sure that on the right-hand side, you're also saying, okay, it's different because in Rome, the consuls are the ones who actually write the laws, which means they have a stronger hold on the power of making laws within the Roman Republic. So they can be interpretations and analysis of those governments as opposed to simply being facts, okay? The important thing to keep in mind is that if you're going to deliver some sort of an inference or interpretation of these two governments, make sure that you're giving kind of a small explanation as to why. So as in the example I just showcased, the United States, the federal branch, the executive branch, the president, is a little bit weaker because blah, blah, blah. And then so I'm giving my explanation as to why or how I'm interpreting that position within the United States government. And then likewise on the other side for Rome, talking about the consuls, here is how it shows that they are different because they are stronger, because they're able to make the laws. Some small explanation as to which. I do not need full sentences for these. You can paraphrase, you can write in phrases, etc. What I'm most concerned about is that you have parallel facts, that you explain briefly your reasoning if you're going to do some analysis or if you're going to do some interpretation. It is okay to do that, but I want to see your explanations there as well. And then finally, if we're talking about comparison in common, or really for any of these, and you say, I don't know, that the person in charge of the United States and Rome for their heads of state serves as a figurehead and is viewed as the person in charge. Okay, make sure that you say how or why that is. Featured on coins. The position also deals with the heads of state of other nations or entities, something like that. Give me a little bit of that explanation in there. Again, it does not have to be in a full sentence, but you do need to kind of give the reason why. We're not looking for full paragraphs. We're looking for short, to the point, succinct explanations for those individual facts, okay? Pay attention to the topics. For all of you, I've listed your first topic at the top of your first diagram, and then you're going to complete your own for the second one. If I'm asking about heads of state, pay attention to the heads of state from that PowerPoint lecture. If I say main jobs, what do I mean by main jobs? I mean, what is the main function or what is the role of that position within the government? So if we're talking about main jobs of, I don't know, the Senate, okay, and you're going to use the Senate to compare and contrast, you need to dig into what exactly the purpose is of that particular position. So again, we're probably going to see a little bit of interpretation. Just make sure you briefly give your reasoning as to why. Right? Let's take a look at an example. Okay. I gave you some of the additional directions that I just went over at the top there if you need to go back to it. For example, this one says main job of each part of the government. Okay, so on this Slimm diagram, for the United States, you're going to be discussing the differences in roles of the different parts of each government. So heads of state, legislative branch, the upper house or the lower house or the judicial systems. And you're going to look at those different branches and say, okay, here are the main branches, here are the main functions or roles of those different pieces. Are they similar? Okay, well, how are they similar? Are they different? Show how they're different, okay? So that should kind of line up your first four. And then for the second one, I gave you kind of some different lists of topics that you can choose from. And you'll just have to kind of circle or write down which of those topics you're going to do for your second Venn diagram, okay? As per usual, if you have questions, ask a partner first. You can always revisit these instructions. And then your kind of worst case scenario is shoot me an email and I'll be able to respond to those emails as best I can. I am asking for these Venn diagrams to be finished prior to class tomorrow, as well as a brief skim, a brief read over Chapter 7, Lesson 2, which is going to get us prepared for the fall of the Republic, the end of the Republic, and the move from a Republican system of government with checks and balances and separation of powers into what we would call the Roman Empire time period, where you have these emperors actually take control. So that's where we're headed, and we're going to see that shift in government once again across this time period, okay? Please let me know if you have any questions, and enjoy your day.